I had no idea that all it took to end this special session of the Texas legislature was to have Scott Braddock on as a guest on KSAT Q&A. It's happening as we speak. Scott is, of course, the editor of the Quorum Report. You can find him at quorumreport.com. Scott, in Austin right now, they're basically wrapping up the property tax
it's happening.
bill.
They are, and I would show your viewers this. I'm always sort of at the Capitol. I'm watching the Texas House floor right now. I've been there most of the day. The tax bill has been debated. It's a slate of tax bills that have to do with a homestead exemption for people up to $100,000, as well as tax compression, which we can talk about, and some changes to the way that appraisals are done in Texas. The final speech is being made on this bill right now, so breaking news. We'll be able to tell you in just a little bit what the vote is on this, but I do expect the bills on property taxes to all be passed tonight. And these were unchanged. Republicans today were successful in fighting off some attempts by Democrats to do things like putting more money in the pockets of teachers. It has broken through with people, Steve, that all across the state, people are asking this question. Are you telling me that the state of Texas had more money than ever in its bank account and teachers did not get a pay raise? Is that right? And of course, I tell people, yes, that is right. And when they say, how can that possibly be correct? I'll say, well, how long do you have? We could talk about this whole legislative session and the way that it has played out. The governor, I think, is trying to hold teacher pay raises as something of a bargaining chip for a school voucher debate. Will probably come later in the year after the impeachment trial of Attorney General Ken Paxton. But breaking news here happening right now on KSAT that these bills are passing, and this legislative session, this special session, is coming to a close.
Yeah, and when you said this special session, you brought up school vouchers. It means we will have another special session likely called by the governor sometime this summer after the impeachment trial, like you said. You talked about compression, and I don't want to get into the ins and outs of exactly what that means, but there are some real concerns that some of the shifting and some of the savings and the homestead exemption and things like that are leading to benefits now that we're going to pay for down the road. Was that debated as part of some of these bills today?
It has come up, and it's a great question. I mean, what the lawmakers in Austin are doing right now is they're taking a record surplus, an extra $33 billion or so that is in the state's bank account or expected to be in the state's bank account over the next 24 months. They're taking that one-time money and they're spending it for an ongoing expense, which is your property taxes and your local school districts. It used to be a conservative thing, right, that you would never take one-time money and spend it on something that's going to cost money going into the future. So you have those, including the governor, who have argued that we could take this surplus and try to buy down local property taxes to eventually get rid of them. But as the Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick, who is not a liberal, has said, that's a fantasy. That's not going to happen. And it's because of what you just said, going into the future years, 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 6 years from now, a decade from now, we can't count on having a record budget surplus again. That in all likelihood is not going to happen. In fact, in 2 years, what if we're in a recession? I mean, the conservatives have always said you don't spend all the money that's in the bank. You try to leave some there for the hard times. That's why there's been so much hesitation about spending money that's in the rainy day account, the Economic Stabilization Fund. I think people need to understand whatever's happening now in the Texas House and Senate, and they are passing these property tax bills that will give people some relief over the next 2 years. There's no question about that, but it's a Band-Aid. 2 years from now, 4 years from now, they'll be addressing it again. Steve, you remember in 2019 when the governor was giving speeches about how we were going to fix property taxes in Texas for all time. Well, here we are in 2023, and they're wrestling with this for the last 7 months in the second special session of this legislative year.
Yeah, I think it proved to be a little tougher than maybe both the House and Senate leaders thought it would be this time around. Does this mean that the Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker of the House, Dade Phelan, and the Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick have made up? That all of this has been, because they go back and forth pretty hard when we get to legislative sessions.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty clear that these are two guys who don't necessarily like each other. This shouldn't surprise people that there are egos involved when we're talking about politics and people who operate at the highest level of politics. I do think that it's fair to say in this showdown that I described last week at quorumreport.com as a legislative Vietnam, because there just was no movement. And, at some point, somebody had to retreat and get out of there. The person who retreated is Governor Abbott. And I know that it's been portrayed in some media as, hey, look, this is just a compromise where everybody's getting some of what they wanted. That's somewhat true. The lieutenant governor is getting the homestead exemption increase, which he wanted. The speaker is getting, something done on appraisals, which he wanted. And there is tax compression in the plan, which the governor had been calling for. But the governor is the one who really lost here. This is the first time we've seen Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Patrick have it out in a public way on a big public policy issue. And the governor is the only one of the big three who was calling for all or nothing, Steve. Remember, he was the only one saying that the only thing that the legislature should pass is a bill that has to do with tax compression. The lieutenant governor said, yeah, we'll do tax compression, but we also want the homestead exemptions. And the speaker said, yeah, we'll do the tax compression, but we want to do something on appraisals. Abbott was the only one saying all or nothing. And he had to retreat from that position.
Yeah, it was interesting to see Dan Patrick and the governor, who usually are lockstep or basically going at each other in this whole thing. And school vouchers could be the same thing, where they'll be going after each other. I want to talk about State Senator Roland Gutierrez. He announced this week that he is going to run for the Democratic nomination for United States Senator, taking on Colin Allred. If he wins that, he will take on Senator Ted Cruz. Do you think Roland Gutierrez has a shot in all this?
I do. I was looking at the voting patterns in the last U.S. Senate races and governor's races over the last decade. And one thing that is fascinating to me is that you might remember in 2014, you had Senator Wendy Davis, who ran for governor against Greg Abbott. She underperformed a bit in her primary election because, remember, there was a Latino candidate who took votes from her in South Texas. And then if you look at what happened in subsequent elections, when there have been Latino candidates in Democratic primaries in this state who didn't even have any money and couldn't even run ads, those Latino candidates did take money away from sort of the preferred candidate of the Democratic Party or the Democratic establishment. And so this is a race where you're going to have a Latino candidate in Roland Gutierrez, who is going to have money, going up against an African-American candidate from Dallas who also has money. I think that on the last reports, the last announcement from Colin Allred's campaign up in Dallas, he said he had raised $6 million, which is a pretty big haul for a Texas Democrat. We're not sure what kind of numbers you're going to see as far as fundraising from Senator Gutierrez just yet, but I think there are going to be and is going to be a lot of interest in this. There are going to be a lot of contributions coming in for somebody like Gutierrez, who has been on national media for the last year talking about the tragedy in Uvalde, which, of course, he featured that in that rollout video for his campaign that you were just showing here on KSAT. And so I think it's going to be a spirited primary for the Democratic nomination. And think of it this way. You've got a guy from San Antonio, Gutierrez. You've got a guy from Dallas, Dallas-Fort Worth, in Colin Allred. That makes the battlegrounds places like Austin and Houston, where both of them are going to have to work it really hard because in those places, folks don't know who they are.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Could you make the argument that more people know who Roland Gutierrez is now statewide than people who know Colin Allred?
Without any data to back this up, I'll just say that, at some point when you have heard enough from various people, and I know that the pollsters will hate when I say this, but if you take enough anecdotes, eventually it leads to data. I'm not saying that the plural of anecdote is data, but I do think that folks have seen a person have a meltdown about a tragedy on their television for the last year. That guy was Roland Gutierrez. It's not Colin Allred. And look, when you have, so many, we have almost 40 members of Congress who are from Texas across the state. People don't know who those members of Congress are. And in fairness to Allred, people don't know who state senators are either. But I'm trying to think of the last time we ever had a state senator with as much national attention as Gutierrez. And collectively over the last year, I would say it would be on par with the short time that Wendy Davis was in the national spotlight about a decade ago when she ended up being the Democratic nominee for governor.
Yeah, that's exactly who I was thinking of, but probably the most comparable was when Wendy Davis spoke for so long on the Senate floor. All right, Scott Braddock. Yep, editor with the Quorum Report at quorumreport.com. Always appreciate your insight and your timeliness, especially today.
Good to see you. Talk soon.
Take care. We'll be right back. Take a live look outside with live cam right now as we look towards the airport. A lot of us probably looking at the weather map going, where can we go to get cooler than triple digits? Because there is a wide swath of heat. from California all the way almost to Florida.
Yeah, along the southern U.S. there is. It's not as bad if you head up north around the Great Lakes, not nearly as bad. I'm going to be back a little bit to talk about the heat, of course, and how hot it's going to get and feel in the days ahead, along with the newest drought monitor updated today. Compare our areas of drought to the rest of the state in just a bit.
All right. Imagine, if you will, that money is no object, schedule is no object. You can fly anywhere in the United States to cool off. Where would that be, Adam Caskey?
The lower 48, right? Okay.
Yes.
For me, I think I'd take a trip to Duluth, Minnesota, or even Grand Marais, Minnesota, and jump in Lake Superior. Lake Superior has an average water temperature of between 36 and 39 degrees all year.
Oh.
Even in the summertime.
Cool.
Even in the summertime.
That'd be too cool.
Oh, I don't know. It'd feel good out there. Talk to the people who are working outside these days, right?
Yeah.
So that's my answer. Now, it would be a very brief plunge. Let's get to those temperatures across the nation. We're 105 here in San Antonio, Minneapolis right now, 86. Chicago, 78 degrees. Duluth, Minnesota, up the hill, measured up the hill, not by the water, 73 right now for their air temperature. So that's where I would choose to go, to be quite honest with you. Looking at our temperature trend going forward, 104 to 105, give or take a degree or so for the foreseeable future, but feeling like it's closer to 110. Let's talk about our drought monitor. 31% of Texas is in drought, and the highest concentration of that drought is right here in the Texas Hill Country. See this red, these darker red colors, Kerrville, Sisterdale, Comfort, down toward Bernie, the extreme and exceptional drought. That even stretches to Canyon Lake, right along the Guadalupe River, which has very low flow these days. Just a part of our area and a part of Texas as a whole that wasn't quite as fortunate in terms of the rainfall accumulations during the nice rainy months of April and May. You look elsewhere, and it is an isolated area of extreme and exceptional drought compared to the rest of the state. It's the worst drought all across Texas. The Panhandle, no drought, and they're getting another round of showers and even some thunderstorms, maybe even severe storms, again, developing in the Panhandle from Amarillo northward all the way up, basically the plains there east of the Front Range, northward. Rainfall potential next 7 days stays in the Panhandle. At least somebody's getting it, right? And even along the Red River, there's opportunity as well. Otherwise, it's the eastern 2/3 of the U.S., but not here in South or Central Texas. 105 right now. Dew point is 63. Feels like 108. Dew points, 60s. We're not getting a big break in the afternoon dew points, so those heat index values are up there. Feels like 109 in Hondo. Del Rio feels like 111. Victoria feels like 109, but earlier today had a heat index of 115. 80 degrees at 7 a.m. tomorrow, mostly cloudy. By noon, we're 94, feeling like 106. Nothing but sunshine in the afternoon, 104 the high. Of course, feeling like it's closer to 110. Air temperatures in the hill country, 102-ish, 101 for the high temperature, but higher elsewhere. For example, Von Army 104 and Timberwood Park a high of 102. Get ready. Record high temperatures are likely to be met or even exceeded several days in a row. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and even on into Tuesday. All right, this week I want to give you a little update. Last week I was gone because I took a trip back to Fort Myers, Florida. Now, this was back in October after Category 5 Hurricane Ian hit Fort Myers, Florida, and my in-laws' house. They're about 2.5 miles from the water, but they've got about 3 feet of water in their house of the Gulf of Mexico. So I, helped them last October in a bit of the recovery situation. And recently, last week, I wasn't here to give away a thermometer because I went back to rebuild. Notice the water line there on the front door, and of course we couldn't even get the door open because of the flooding threw everything around, and we had to rip apart all the walls and throw away all the furniture. They're in good shape. They've got new floors, they've got new walls, they have electricity, et cetera, but there's still a lot of work to be done down there. But what I did check on are my 2 thermometers that survived the Category 5 hurricane in their porch area in the back. This is one of the OG thermometers too, by the way. This is the one I made for Yaya, that's my mother-in-law, and that one's from 2013, and that weathered the storm. I found it on the ground when I went back for the recovery, and now we went back to rebuild a little bit and help out. Boom, there it was. So now I've got a winner this week for you, and the winner of the homemade thermometer this week out of San Antonio, we've got Robert Martin, the Robert Martin I just sent the email to. So check your email and go to ksat.com/thermometer to enter the drawing. So sorry I missed it last week, but still helping out.
I'm glad to see they recovered, because that's not easy to recover from.
No, the beach is a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam. We'll be right back. The San Antonio police say a man was hit and killed while trying to cross Highway 90. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Officers say the driver who hit him did stop and tried to help. The victim's name has not been released. FBI conducting a field search in Pflugerville in connection to a serial killer tied to murders in San Antonio. We're talking about 62-year-old Raul Mesa. He was arrested at the end of May after the Pflugerville Police Department charged him with capital murder. Investigators say he could be tied to 10 cold cases dating back to 1996. Haven for Hope installing a new AC unit in their chapel on campus to help families beat the heat. The chapel, a multi-use building that's also being used for families to sleep at night because of the overflow of people at Haven. They have too many to put them in all their housing locations. Officials say at least 20 families sleep there a night. City of San Antonio opened more than 30 locations to help people stay cool. The locations: city libraries, community centers. You can see a full list of locations on KSAT12. And that's your 60-second recap. We'll be right back. That does it at 6. We'll see you right back here on the Night Beat at 10.